everyone. As part of the iMoot team, I am happy to finally get to introduce Natalie. If you don't know Natalie, you definitely should. She is the gamification guru. So today she's going to be doing a treasure hunt in Moodle using the new gamification plugin. So Natalie, take it away.
Thank you, Carrie, and welcome everybody. Congratulations on making it through the iMoot so far. So this is the last session and hopefully one that's fun and will keep you awake with something a little bit different from our very serious corporate Moodles that we often get buried in. So today I'm showing you a fairly new plugin released. And I'm not going into the technical side of installing this plugin. We're assuming that you've got an administrator who's set it all up for you and it's all ready to go. So this is more from a course creator's point of view. So you're looking at a course that I've already made here, but I'm going to step back and redo quite a few things. So what is a block in the top right corner called Stash, which has items in it that people can collect throughout their journey. And what you can do is actually control access to content. So this second topic here is not going to be available unless people have already collected the item called Ring. So I'll show you how that's set up. It's quite a lot easier than the other Level Up plugin, which is a fantastic plugin, but it does take quite a lot of thinking and planning and a lot of testing to make sure it's working. This is like 100 times faster and 1,000 times easier to use than that, but you still can achieve fairly much the same things. So within your stash, if you click on Setup, the teacher or course creator has access to a list of items. You can see that I've already added a ring and an Arkenstone. And if I wanted to add another item, I call it something, and then you add an image in, and it doesn't seem to be too fussy about the image that you use. I'll use this one. So that's going to be just for my own interests. I can write in a message for myself about where I'm locating this, that isn't particularly used by the person. I get to decide if I want to have 4 of these stars available. And you can get them an hour, 1 a week, 1 a day. You can get 1 every minute. So that's a bit of control there over how frequently people can collect these items. And that's pretty much all I shouldn't have made this a 40-minute demo. I should have made it a 4-minute demo because that's it. That code there now, if I put that inside my course, I can now use my item. So let's go to one of these. So the good thing about using the snippets, which I've just shown you. Oh, don't tell me it's not going to let me. I can just copy and paste without going into HTML. And I do find that WordPress really picked up in its development when it started using shortcodes. And in Moodle, if we can get to that point where we use shortcodes rather than going into HTML view, it's less scary to HTML. So that's it. That little bit of code there will be inserted inside that text. And I can control the words that I can say leave it as the default pickup, or I can change those words to mean something else. Let's try to preview what that would look like for you. So when you go inside that topic, once I click that button up here, it should be added to my stash. There it is. So that one of the first examples that I saw of this type of course was Julian Ridden enthusiastically telling us about a group of teenage boys learning about the Vietnam history around the 70s, and he decided to put in tiny little pictures of military hats throughout his course that they could find, and I think he had songs that would play as a reward when you got to the end of a topic. And his story talked about how excited and enthusiastic people were about, the students were about just having these extra things inside the course. And we used to do probably exactly what I'm doing now, with a lot of use of conditional activities and some fairly complex things that took time. But this is a much simpler way of achieving the same thing, where you have a list of items and you decide where to put them. It comes with a nice report too, so I can see how many people have collected. I can even be really mean and reset their stash so they go back to 0. That sounds like something you could build into some sort of punishment, perhaps. And you can see that I'm using conditional activities to show and hide things. So this is my congratulations, you've finished image. But what I've said is that you won't see that until you have these items, your stash. I'll show you some of those conditional activities, how they look behind the screen. If you haven't used conditional activities and restrictions before, my advice is to kind of do it a little bit backwards to what you might expect it. So this is the item. So there's two parts. There's the restrict access, and there's the completion that we're working with. So in this, I've added a restriction here that the student must have a ring and an Arkenstone. Subject. And that's where I can make some changes to what I want them to have. And I'll show you how the activity completion works on the next one. So let's jump to the next. So this time I've said that the whole topic here is not available unless you have the ring. So this isn't hard to do as much as it does take a bit of thinking through. What are you going to restrict? What are you going to have? And remember, you've got these must not options. So you can have must and must not, which from a game design point of view, really opens up branched pathways that you could have two different options. If the students have these things in their stash, then show them this. And if they don't have things in the stash, then show them these. We can say that items won't even be visible until certain activities have been completed. So this is one of my items in here. And this time I've said that you're not allowed to see my item until you've done an activity, the Hobbit review, and then for you to pick up. Now, the Hobbit review was a quick choice, if I remember correctly. And I had to decide what I think completing means, because sometimes just looking at an item for it to be, other times you can manually tick the box. So you've got a little bit of control there over how it works. So this actually works a lot better if you work through the course yourself. So you are welcome to sign up. This is one of my half-done Moodle course. You go to the link I provided in my presentation section. That's the link to the course. It's called Stash Demo 2. If you create an account, you'll get an error that says it didn't work, but it does actually work, but I have to manually, which I can do. So you're welcome to enroll in this course and work through it. And if you would like to have your own test Moodle course on this site, you're welcome to do that as well. Just send me an email and I'll set you up your own course, because I've got all of these things in fit. So I'm just going to stop now and hope that you've got some questions to ask me and see if we can have a quick chat about what are you thinking, what are you scheming, how could you use this? So please turn on your microphones. So Andy's asking, can they be awarded for, say, quiz results? Definitely. You can use your activity restrictions. So let me just demonstrate that. I don't have a quiz exactly to show you, but we can. So here, the one that I've got in here, when I set up that page, what I do here is I've got choices over what I'm saying complete is. So with the quiz, you would have to say that completion of the quiz requires it being finished, and you can set it to must pass, must have a grade. And then the system would say, yes, the quiz has been complete. And then you would open up, make a new label and say that this is not visible until the quiz has. Yeah, Carrie, are you getting any ideas on what sort of context you might use it in?
So I'm curious, can you put those into like discussion forums and stuff like that as well?
Can you say that again? I missed one.
Can you drop those little snippets of code anywhere in Moodle? Can you put them in discussion forums or whatever else? Yeah,
anywhere that you've got text. Oh, well, I don't think it would actually, probably wouldn't work in a discussion forum. No. Shall we try?
Sure.
Let's see. I'm thinking no, but because it is really just another text. So that's in the description of the forum. So it is appearing here, which I kind of thought would work. But generally you don't just pop them in like that. You put rules around that they have to do something before they're allowed to get it.
Right. I'm just curious if we'll go into a body of a...
Yeah, it did work. So yeah, I can imagine using that as a reward. If somebody did a particularly great thing, then you could drop an item in there for them as
Exactly
a
what I'm
reward.
thinking.
And remember, you've got those really interesting restrictions of 1 per minute, 1 per hour, 1 per day. So you could say, well, this is the daily star and I'm issuing it to this student. So yeah, it's just working as plain old HTML, which is great. When I looked at the instructions, they talk about using embed code, like when we put YouTube in the hard way, that you have to go and copy it and paste it into the code, and makes it sound really complicated. And then at the end it says, or you can use the filter, which will do it with the code, saying that the documentation implies that it's a lot more complicated than it is really. And if you don't have the filter installed or don't want it for some reason, then really copying embed code is a lot easier to do than it is if you read those rather lengthy instructions for people that have never used embed code before. But I can see most of us here in this room would be quite comfortable with jumping to so it's not. So while I'm talking about that, you have to install a new block called the stash block, and then the shortcode filter is one that needs to be installed and enabled. I think that was about it. So it's not really a complicated thing to get set up in your site. And it's developed and maintained by one of the Moodle HQ guys himself, I'm pretty sure. So I have high confidence that it's going to be loved and looked after into the future. Unlike you hold your breath and wonder when the organisation behind it is going to disappear and leave you stranded. Is there anybody
Natalie,
else that's got any ideas? Yes.
Natalie, can I ask a question? It's a bit too complicated to type into the chat forum.
Yes, you're welcome.
Can the items be used to trigger a condition? What I'm thinking of is, for example, there might be 2 or 3 different things that could collect your ring there, for example, and then an activity only becomes available when you possess a ring. So it wouldn't be a particular exercise, it could be any exercise that gives you a ring. Have I explained that properly?
Yeah, 1 or 2 words dropped out, so I hope I didn't misunderstand. Let me just jump back in and show you. It's really about understanding the way that restrictions work. So let's jump in here and have a look at it. So this is a Moodle page activity, and I've got just some simple text there that you're not allowed to see this activity or use this activity. These are all the things that we've got to play with. So you've got your stash object there that says the student either must or must not have, and I can put as many stash objects. I could have multi objects in there, or I can have 1 stash object, but I can keep going with this. I can say you have to have a certain grade. Your course total must be over 50%. You're not allowed to see it. And we've got things like department and institution. So you could put people in a group called fairies and a group called wizards, and based on their user profile, they can or cannot see certain things. I played around with it to work. Got the user profile restriction to work, please let me know. But what's really interesting for some of the more advanced people I can see in this room is you've got that last option there that was restriction sets. So this gets a set of nested restrictions to apply complex logic. I've had a quick look in there, and it's getting more to the type of scripting level that some of us are more used to in code, where you can do a lot more complicated things. So I'll just try this. It's most powerful and abused restrictions, but in this kind of fun activity that's not necessarily related to the final assessment, having things available only for an hour, like if you logged on, if you got to class on time, I'd be giving people for that. So I could set this here to only be available at a certain time. So what this is doing now is it's giving me and statements. This has to be true, and that has to be true, and that has to be true. And it's been a while since I've done this, but I thought that might be a little bit open to changing to and or statements, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. But yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do within that activity completion. And it just takes some thinking about it, how it would work. And switching to the must not is a way to get a lot more power out of these things, rather than always using the default, the student must have this or must have got a certain grade. You use the must not to reverse it. Does that answer what you were thinking, Andy?
Yes, it does. It's just it's a point that came up a couple of times on Moodle.org, that people were looking for the option of being able to take a condition of any 3 from 10, which with the restrictions that is very difficult. But there, if you can use these items to control a number of items, that would make it quite trivial to organize. That would really solve a lot of problems for those type of issues. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the speed with which you can get this type of work, the gamification plugins that I've looked at, which I think means it's going to have a lot more pickup with a much broader group of people. Ellen, you're asking, is there a common area where students can compare their accumulated stash with other students, like a leaderboard? I love questions that make the teacher gets that report where I could see what each student had collected on a 1-per-1 basis. So that makes me think that the system is obviously keeping a track of who's got what. And I don't think there is at the moment an inbuilt, just Sarah Ashley's name's on this list, so she might help me with this. There is a plugin called a configurable report plugin. It's basically an SQL generator writer tool where you get to say, show me this and then show me that. And you can go into the Moodle database and pull out any information you want. And you can wrap HTML and CSS around it and own leaderboards that way. So you could make a table and say in the heading, I want it to have this title, and then populate each row with this information. Sarah, if I'm not putting you on the spot too much, did you have something to say about that? Do you think that would be possible? The tricky part that I found is actually knowing the name of the piece of information that you want to display. And it does require understanding databases and the way they're structured in SQL. But for somebody who knows databases and SQLs, that's extremely simple, quick things to do. So I've done something like that. So it'd be worth paying somebody to, like it's a 30-minute job to set it up, so you could outsource it and then have it inside your course. And it's not very intrusive. It's not like you're changing the database or making a new, using configurable reports plugin, which is a great tool for administrators to pull out any sort of reporting in Moodle. But I've happened to use it as a visual reporting tool for students because I think giving them feedback is far more important than anybody else getting feedback. And if you wanted to have a look at that, the examples in my Follow the Orange Brick Road course that I did a few years ago with the scarecrow and the lion, the leaderboard in that was made up of the configurable reports block. So what are your ideas about how you could use this? Are you working with corporate, primary, high school? How do you think we could apply it in different contexts? One of my students bought a box of chocolates in, and we did leave it on the desk for a few minutes. So anybody who got there on time was offered a chocolate in the morning, and then I hid it, and it actually turned out to be a bit of a fun thing in the morning to see who would get the chocolate. And I like that idea of having something available just for a certain amount of time in the morning. You'd be surprised how competitive people get over things like that, and it becomes very playful, and it just adds a different layer to your class that you don't usually see. Not that I would tie that up with their results at all, but I think it does affect their results in a very roundabout way because people start talking to each other more. They interact and bond through play, and then they're a bit more ready to focus on work after they've had a bit of a giggle about something like a silly game. Yeah, Gemma, that comment you're making there that I don't see Moodle and people are seeing gamification things as a kid thing. I work at TAFE, so I have mainly 17 to 22-year-old male quarter age students. And that's a real struggle when you've got a majority that is a particular strong group, and then you've got another lot who have got quite different needs and expectations and a history of education. And I have often decided to go for the mass and realise that they're the ones why they're the ones that I can't really get any quick traction and inroads to. And all the surveys and feedback I got was more games, more games, more games. So I decided to just throw these older people into some rather friends style competitions, and watching how the older people reacted was interesting. They were certainly less predictable than the majority group I was targeting. But what I found is that they really came on board a lot quicker than what they even thought they would. They started off like, oh, okay, I'll put up with this. And I explained it to them why I'm doing it. And do you mind if we do this, that, and the other, and tried to get them on board. But they ended up really enjoying playing, and they had opportunities to be leaders within the groups, which I didn't kind of see it coming. But by breaking them into small tribes and having them compete against tribes, the older people instantly became the chiefs of the tribe, and especially the women, they really got these young boys under their wings, and all of a sudden we had all this real family type networking and support going on that was really quite beautiful. I'll just try to jump back to a few other questions before I get to those ones at the end. So yes, I do think, Gemma, I do think there's a place for in a corporate Moodle, but obviously you can use different symbols as well. I used symbols and narrative of The Hobbit, but you could use coins, something, think more gambling, because a lot of gamification is linked to our love of risk and chance and luck, and we certainly have lots of adults involved in that side of gaming world. So try to think of how it feels as adults. We play cards. I was thinking something the other day about putting in a King, Queen, Jack, Ace and Joker card set, and that you might get the Joker card, and if you get the Joker card, then you get access to certain privileges within the system. So look at the loyalty programs that are out there, giving people VIP in a corporate setting. That's an appropriate way. So you could have an image of a VIP pass. You're the first person here this week. Here's your VIP pass. You are now entitled to this or that. Would be a way that you could use a reward system to encourage people to be logging in. Coffee tokens, yeah, free coffee. You'll target the acknowledge and encourage is the first step of the process. So start with that, and then decide whether you want to add a reward as well, or whether simply acknowledging the behaviour is enough. And a free coffee sounds like a great reward, but you can only get one a day. And I'm just reading back through the comments. Gareth is saying that it adds an extra dimension to a course beyond simply completing tasks. Yeah, it is. It's been fascinating, my journey with gamification, to see that the layering is in the game, and very, very effective. Trish is saying that you're working in a corporate Moodle, the ease of setting it up is going to be attracted to people. Yeah, I think this plugin being so technically simple really shows you that the actual hard part is deciding what you want to do with it and why you want to do it. And really, you're going to get it wrong. You're going to make a course and you're going to get feedback and you're going to go, oh, wow, I shouldn't have done that. That didn't work. But that's part of our learning as designers too. At least if you get it wrong and people complain, you've learned something and you'll think, okay, next time I won't do the coffee, I'll do something else. So you can keep on making it better. So good on you to the courageous people who give it a go. You just might be surprised. It certainly will get some feedback, get people talking, if nothing else. Yeah, and competitive. Yeah, I find that you think of games and play as a childish thing, but really in our adult lives, we are very serious about our games. And I must say, I think children are very serious about their games too. That you think of the Olympics and race of Order of Australia medals, which are the highest prestige possible to issue. Badges, we still have lots of certificates and rewards available as adults, and our culture certainly integrates that throughout our whole life. It's very much a misconception that so Gareth is saying that with any tool, that knowing how to use it properly for the target environment is key, that perhaps in the corporate environment that this may not have been thought out completely to suit it. However, from training I've done in such an environment, then this could be used for team building where teams have a time to complete and completes first. Yeah, I do use a lot more competition now than I ever used in the past, and you've got to balance your strategy with, you don't want to demotivate anybody, and simple leaderboards are not going to motivate everybody. But when you shuffle it into teams and you reset it every few days so that everybody's got a chance to win, my simple advice is, if you keep people neck and neck, that everyone's got a chance of winning, and you hide the shame but make the team praise public, then that's a way of harnessing that team competition. And the people who don't particularly want to participate can sit back with shamed about it. And Gareth saying that your 18-year-olds liked stars and stickers. And I think that's part of this process, is just trying it, because you really don't know what people are going to like. And if stars work for it, I wouldn't have been sure about that, or stickers, but sure, if it works. And keep on just doing the surveys to find out what people would like more of and less of. Have any of you experienced anything like this in any other websites where you have inventories or get restricted access? As we do see a lot of gamification being used around the place in different ways, and sometimes we can pick up ideas from those and bring them into our e-learning environment. And maybe I can just plant that seed in your head next time that you feel like you're being involved in a process. Think, oh, how could this work in my Moodle course? And then think of these plugins to see how you could do that.
Natalie, it's funny that this is your session, because one of the things I want to talk to you about later is something called Breakout EDU. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, a little bit.
And we've been creating and working with some of the digital Breakout EDUs. And I'm wondering, that could be a nice way to work with. I'm just wondering how it could be integrated, and maybe do something like that in a Moodle course, where there's the different clues and the different locks that you have to. As a matter of fact, I just got all the materials to create 3 Breakout EDU boxes with the actual. So for those of you who don't know what Breakout EDU is, it's like a toolbox with a hasp that has several different locks on it, and there's different clues, and you have to unlock each clue to get inside. It's like the escape rooms where you go into a room and there's clues hidden, and you have to figure out how to find the clues to get out of the room. And I'm just thinking that there might be some ways to integrate something like this into that type of atmosphere and pull them both together. I don't know, just an idea.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea, and you and I should make the course right now, because I can see that it's got topics, but they could be rooms. So this could be room 1, and it's locked, but there's a certain series of clues, and once you unlock it, you could have an image up in the top left in the stash that appears. So you could have lock with a number 1 on it. So number 1 is unlocked. Then you have to collect 4 of them. And once all of the items have been collected, then you have an image here of an open box. You could have 2 images, one image of a closed box that displays by default. And then once all the don't show the image of the closed box and do show the image of the open box. Would that do it?
Definitely. I think that you should probably, if you haven't looked at the digital Breakout EDUs, you should definitely look at them. There are a lot of different things that they do there. As a matter of fact, we're trying to develop one for this week for my daughter's birthday. We want to create a dance Breakout EDU. And I'm thinking that there's a lot of ways that we can take the concept of Breakout EDU and mash them with this concept and maybe come up with something a little bit more robust and a little different.
I love it. I love your thinking. It's a cool idea. At the end of my time, 40 minutes. I've stopped hearing people, but I think my time is up. So,
well, Natalie, I'd like to thank you as part of the iMoot team for this wonderful presentation. I'm not sure. I see that Wendy just jumped in. Wendy, are we doing the final wrap up here, or what's the situation with that? Can you jump on?
Yes, good morning, everyone. You'll have to forgive me. It's 4 o'clock in the morning here, so I still got my wake up voice. Yes, as Gareth said, we're wrapping up here. I'm just going to quickly do a jump in and say thank you, firstly, to Andy, Gareth, Vinny, and Kim. Unfortunately, Stefan couldn't join us this year, but these guys are our iMoot team, and we just want to thank them very much for all the work that you've put in. That's just incredible. Without you guys, we couldn't have had an iMoot, especially all we've been very tired overnight. Also, just very quickly, thank you to our sponsors, the ones this year, and we just really thank you for sponsoring this year. It just sort of helps to pay the servers, all those sort of things. And of course, the other thank you is to everybody who came along, because it was just an absolutely brilliant time. I got to see quite a lot of it. Obviously, I didn't see overnight, but for us. But just thank you so much. It was just a really fantastic time. Everybody learnt so much, and I've been looking at the forums even overnight. Yes, I have. And just fantastic questions that have been going on. I'm going to hand over to Gareth. Gareth's like, what? To see if he has anything else to say. I just came to my thank yous, so I'm so tired and terrible.
Hello, welcome. Just a quick come on. I won't do any more singing because let's get serious. So, thank you very much, Wendy. Also, Shane's asked me to make an announcement that iMoot 2017 will happen, probably, to be dates can be confirmed, in March next year, so not long at all. So if you're feeling Twitch or so, then I thought, oh yeah, that's not long at all. And I thought perhaps I'm going to try something different here and do a quick poll and tell me how many iMoots you've been to. So let's quickly do. Whoops. 3 and if you can say how many you have done. It could be a poll on your screen. Let's wait for the answers to come through. Publish. Wow. There you go. Everybody, this is your first really time. Thank you. A lot of people done 47, so it's great. So it shows that we have some really good fun going on, and they all keep coming back. And yeah, Andy didn't make it through, and still 2 of us have done all. I know who they are because I'm one and Kim's the other. So again, once I think it's been another great mini moot. Following on from that excellent meet we had over in May, we had a lot of people, a very rapid 24 hours. So again, a lot of different stuff. I thought the H5P presentation really good. A lot of other old stuff that reinvented and renewed, including some of the stuff I talked about. So yeah, really good thoughts. Thank you for everything. And I thought perhaps if we do another webcam wall, so if you've got a webcam and you can put it on, and we'll say wave goodbye. And if anybody's got anything more they'd like to say in the chat and say something, then brilliant. And I would like to thank everybody also on the team, because I certainly couldn't do it without you, and I don't spend so much. And actually, please, a massive round of applause to Wendy, who works out the whole schedule and the whole nightmare that it is, orchestrating all of us very pedantic presenters. And also, I should mention thank you to Blindside Networks and Fred Dixon, all the wonderful people there who make iMoot possible with Boo Button and all their sponsors.